Alright, so hi, welcome back. So we're going to be looking at Ruby this lesson. We're going to be looking at Ruby and specifically Gosu, which is a framework we use inside of Ruby. So if you haven't installed Ruby, you can install it through your command prompt or terminal if you're on a Mac by doing install Ruby. And also, we need Gosu for this, so you can just type this into your command prompt or terminal and you'll get Gosu. Alright, so let's begin. Essentially what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at the Ruby programming language, but also how we can use it to create a video game. So we're going to go over this and create a sort of small video game where you can move around as a class, as a sprite, and that's essentially it. So what we first need to do is we need to require Gosu. So Gosu is essentially a framework that we're going to be using. It facilitates code, and it essentially is a C++ library that we can access through Ruby. And essentially you're going to want to use this to program your game. It's much easier than writing all the code out in Ruby and more frustrating, so more complex. So let's move on. So all we got to do is require Gosu, and next what we're going to do is create a class, right? So we're going to type class and game window. I'm just naming this randomly, but we're going to use the Gosu window function to create a new window. So under this, what you're going to want to do is do def and then initialize, which creates a new window. And we're going to look at the size of the window, which will be 680 by 40, actually 640 maybe, 640 by 6480. That sounds like a good size. And we're going to add a caption to the window, so that will be, I don't know, game tutorial. Let's do that. And end this function. So going over the code real quick, we have the require Gosu, which we need to use Gosu functions such as Gosu window, etc., that we're going to use later. We have the class, which is the game window, and this is going to spawn essentially a blank window with this as the caption. So under this, let's just close that end thing. Under this, we can do two different functions that you're going to need, or methods, and that is the def update method and also the def draw method. So what these two individual functions do is, okay, so def update or update is, it essentially just updates variables in real time when the application is open, and draw essentially draws that to the screen. So under this, we can just type window and then equals game window dot new. Alright, so under that we can just do window dot show, and that essentially will be our blank window. So let's run it. So make sure your file is saved in the same place that you're located with this command prompt. So as you can see, this is saved on my desktop, and all I had to do to get here is just do the cd function. So let's run command prompt in Ruby. Let's So all you gotta do, as you can see, I'm located in located in C drive users corner. I can just do CD desktop, and I'll go at the desktop where my file's saved. Now after this, what you want to do is go Ruby and whatever the file extension is called. It has to be a .rb file. And there we go. So as you can see, the code ran successfully, and we have gotten a little image or a little window that we can use for our game. And as you can see, the caption right here is this little piece of text up here, and that's it. So now we want to add players and images. So you can add all sorts of things, and it's very, very simple because it's Ruby. As you can see, this is just like 18 lines of code, not even, because there's spaces. And you know, we've got a window already, so it's very, very simple. So let's move on. Let's try and add an image. How about that? So let's add an image. So all we have to do is go into your initialize function, and what you want to do is just do an @ sign and make a variable. It can be named anything, so I'm just going to do image, and you're going to make this variable equal to this function called gosu : image. Now this is a function we can use for Gosu to quickly and easily add images. So let's do .new, and after this, the parameters for the what's called function should look like that. So this is essentially where the image is located. I have an image called space that I want to use, so let's use that. And it's as simple as that. That's how easy it is to put an image in, and as you can see, let's just run it. So let's save the code, and let's run it. Ruby game.rb. Alright, so now the image isn't showing because I need to draw it to the screen. Now, alright, so let's look at this. We go back to our code, and we have to use the draw function, right? So all we have to do is, now that we have our image stated and you know where it's located, we have the function that will draw it to the screen. It is a variable. Now we need to draw it. So we just state the variable, and we just do .draw. And the parameters for this is just where it's located. We're just going to do 0, 0, 0, and that should be, you know, centered. So let's run it again. And there you have it. So I have a picture of space spread across the screen, and as simple as that. So we have an image here, we have a title. What else can we add? Well, what's something that's really, really cool to add is a player. So we can make a player class and essentially have that player freely roam the space that we made in our window. Sounds weird, but it's very easy. So how to do this is we need to make a new class. So let's do class player. And in this class, we're going to have the same sort of functions, not necessarily update and draw, but we're going to have definitely initialize. So def initialize, and under this, we're going to put an image for this player. So we can do player image or whatever, and equal that to the same function. So we've learnt this function now. It's gosu : image dot new, and then I have a image called Starfighter. So, and it's located on the desktop. So you only need to put it like that. Also the what's it called? Apostrophes don't really matter as long as they're together. So you can just do whatever. It's very flexible with that. So under this, we have our image. So we have a player class and we have an image. That's all we have right now. Under this, we can put x and y values that essentially will be the player's coordinates on the image or on the window. It's very simple. So we can just do @x equals to @y. So the x value equals to the y value, and this will equal to we're going to do velocity of x equal to the velocity of y, and we're going to add another variable, angle. We'll have like no angle, so 0.0. So that angle can be sort of changed by the player with the arrow keys, which we'll add later. So under this, what we want to do is add a def, warp, and then x, and then y. What this is going to do is essentially, when the player leaves the leaves the window, what's it called? They're going to appear back, like at the opposite end. So, for example, let's just look at this. So let's just run the code. As you can see, you have this. So let's say a player is entering from this side and goes all the way down to here. When he reaches this point, he'll appear at the same angle he was here. And same for here. When he reaches that point, he'll appear here. Same when he reaches the end of this window, he'll appear on the other side. So this is just to keep the player in the window. Otherwise, if you just had that and there was no warp, the player could just maneuver himself out of the window. Whenever he reaches the end of the window, he'll just get out of the vision, and you couldn't see the player. So this warp is good to keep the player in the window, essentially. So under this, we can just do the x value and the y value equal to x and y, right? So that will sort of keep that in the window. Now we're going to do our sort of directions for the player. So we can do, def turn right or something, and def turn left. That should be good. So what we want to do is when the player presses the right key or the left key, the arrow key, his angle will change. So we have stated the angle is 0, 0 at the beginning. So let's say when he turns right, the angle will be added by maybe 4.5. I think that should work. And when he turns left, the angle function will be minused by 4.5. So the image of the Starfighter will essentially turn around by 4.5 whenever he presses that thing, or holds it or whatever. Now we're going to do an accelerate function. So I like doing this for sprites, as it adds sort of so when you hold down on the up arrow, it will accelerate, so you'll reach a certain speed and go fast instead of going at a constant speed, which is sort of boring, I guess. So we'll just do the velocity of x. We'll add that function by gosu. This is a new function. Offset of x, and we'll just put the angle, which is given to us here, and we'll just put 0.5 as the second parameter. And we'll do the same thing for velocity of y. So I'll just copy paste that for y, and I think that should be fine. So end this function. Pretty straightforward. There's an offset of x and the angle, and it accelerates by 0.5. Now we can make a move function. And so this essentially will be the movements. So we can do x is added by velocity of x, and the y value is essentially added by the velocity of y. So their movement was in unison with their velocity. Essentially, their x value is changed by their velocity. Under this, we can also have x value and then the modulus, which I think I need I think it's right here. Modulus equal 640. Pretty sure you can just do mod. I'm not sure this is the proper function. That needs percent like that. That should be good. Modulus 640, which is the x value, and the y value. We can just do the modulus of 480, which is the size of the window. Pretty sure. Yeah, 640, 480. Alright. So let's make sure this warps as well. Under that, we can also add a velocity, because we haven't really stated the velocity yet. If they move, they can have a certain velocity. So let's say the velocity of x is equal to, or actually multiplied by 0.95 maybe. I'll do the same thing for velocity of y. And there we go. So now we have a move function. Finally, we want to use a draw function because, of course, the player has to be drawn. So we can just do def draw, and then finally under this, we'll just do the image that we use. So player image dot draw, and we'll do underscore rotation. So it's going to be rotating when it, obviously by the x and y values. So we put the x, put that y, 1, and then the angle, I guess. So that concludes our player class. It's a little bit complex, but as you can see, it's very, very simple. You can read that. And they have their own individual functions. So obviously we have the image, we have the x and y values, the velocity values, and the angle. With the warp, of talked about that. We have the turn right and turn left. We have the angle that changes. We have the acceleration, and finally movement and velocity, and the draw function. So, now that we have this class, we can't necessarily see the player on the window, because this is the class, this is the window class. And what we need to do is draw this player onto the window. So not the player has all these individual functions, we want to draw it. So, to draw the player, we need to put in the draw function simply at player dot draw. As simple as that. But we're not done yet because we need some input. So this is where the update function comes in. So obviously, turn right, turn left. It doesn't. There's no input on the. There's no input prompted by the game yet. There's no specific sort of function that says, you know, on button down, press this, or on the left arrow key, do this, or the right arrow key, do that, or the up arrow key, do this. So what we want to do is associate those keys with these functions. So we can do this by a simple, what's it called? Simple update, if statements as well. So, for example, we can do if, and we'll use this gosu function. Gosu button down. So this is a function, I think it's an underscore here, I'm pretty sure. So gosu colon button underscore down question mark is a function that checks for the button pressed. So if the button down, and we can go gosu kb so it can recognize the keyboard, and we'll just do left because that's the left arrow key. And then, so yeah, if it's keyboard left, we can just do then player dot turn left. Simple as that. Very, very simple. We've stated turn left, and player is the class. We have to mention that by using the at file and the at function. And then the dot turn left will bring us to this specific function, then it'll update the angle. So it's as simple as that. If the user presses the left button, then player dot turn left. And we can just end that. So this goes for every other key press. So if the gosu button down is the same thing. Gosu keyboard right, then player dot turn right. Simple as that. And that function, and we can do another one, which is the accelerate. So if the gosu button down question mark gosu kb, and then I think it's up. Pretty sure it's up. Then player dot accelerate. So we made our accelerate function right here. So if it's going up, you accelerate. And then finally end this function. So we have a lot of things. Also update, we need to update the player move. Which will be this, which we need that for. Yeah, that's the update function. Now also in our initialize function, we need to add the actual player so we can see it. So player dot, actually player is the new variable. We can do player new. And then we've got the player warp we need to add as well. So we just put in the function there. We go 320 by 240, I guess. So when it reaches that end, it should be that. So, we have a lot of code here. Well, not necessarily a lot of code, but it's around, yeah, it's not that long. But it can be kind of complex if you don't know what things do. So let's go over it really quickly, just so I check any mistakes before I run it. So, we have the class, we have the game window class, we have the initialize, we have the parameters for the window, we have the caption. Yep, so far so good. Image, which is the background image. We have the player, which we spawn a new player. We have the warp function, which when it reaches a certain end, it'll appear back to the other end. Then we have the update. We have the if someone presses this button, they'll turn left. If they presses that button, they'll turn right. If they press up, it'll accelerate. And we have to update the player.move as well. We draw the images to the screen, so we draw the background image right here, and we also draw the player, which is associated in the player class. So this class done, player class. We have the initialize, we have the player image, and it is this image, the starfighter. We have the x and y values, the velocity and the angle. With the warp function, the turn right, which updates the angle. Turn left also updates the angle. Accelerate function updates velocity. We multiply it by an offset of x. And I'm pretty sure I have to do offset of y. I forgot about that. So it's good to check your code. We got a def move, we got the x, velocity x, y, velocity y, x, y, x, y velocities, and finally we got the draw, so we draw this function to the screen. So, that should be everything. Now, under this, we're going to run the code finally. And there we go. So as you can see on the screen, we have the image of the starfighter, and I'm pressing my keyboard. So as you can see, when I press or hold down left, it changes and updates the angle to the left. If I press or hold down right arrow, you can see the angle of the image has changed. And finally, I have an accelerate function, which is my up arrow. And you can see that if I hold it down, I can accelerate quite fast. And as you can see that warping taking into place, you can see if I hit this X value, I'll appear on the other side. So as you can see, you can freely move around in this game. We got a little spaceship in space, and it's quite simple. As you can look, if you look at it, it's less than 100 lines. And if I remove all these spaces, it's probably less than 60 or something. So it's a small amount of code, and for such an easy sort of good result. So as you can see, I'm just moving around, and it's as simple as that, having a sprite move around with acceleration. So also, if I just press or just tap the up arrow, you can see I stay moving for a little while, and that's my velocity essentially. So there's some sort of realness to the game, and it adds, quite well. So that's very simple. I hope you enjoyed this game tutorial, and we'll be back next time with probably more Ruby or more C++ or C#, sorry, and we can look into that. And yeah, thanks for watching.